It's time to talk about the Rey Mysterio, Dominik. We had the video package, which was great. It had these child photos of Dominik and him being on SmackDown on his 8th birthday, and then the home attack and Dominik going to jail. And before we go to the entrance, Bad Bunny is introduced, and he got a gigantic reaction, and he's on commentary with the Spanish broadcast team. And we go to inside prison, where there are shots of the hardened Dominik behind bars being cuffed and taken out of jail. And he's escorted into a police vehicle and taken to the stadium and brought in like the paddy wagon here into the stadium. This was so awesome. The officers get out, including Bloodsport play-by-play or Bloodsport color analyst Dan Barry, who was one of the cops here, going from Bloodsport to blood in, blood out here with Dominik.
My goodness. Wow. Good pickup. I love this entrance.
This was my favorite entrance on the show. This was one of the best Mania entrances. I thought it was so great.
The video was incredible too. I mean, I'm especially if I'm kind of watching on a delay. I tend to skip a lot of these video packages on these pay-per-views. I made an exception for this one because of the incredible amount of footage that they have of Dominik and Aaliyah from when they were children, just to be able to contrast sweet little innocent Dominik Mysterio watching his dad wrestle ringside to the man that we see today, and then that video of him in the prison as he's coming out with the just perfect.
They come hands through the bars to let him through.
They completely understand the appeal. The almost like, I don't know, at one time ironic appeal. Now I think it's very much a respect that like the audience has for this Dominik Mysterio character. It's just great.
This guy is just he is my favorite character. He's just tremendous, and he came out with the mask on as well, and then took it off. Angie and Aaliyah are seated in the front row, and Rey comes out in a lowrider with Snoop Dogg to Eddie's theme, and before it transitions to his own. So this was a really cool entrance. I just wish we could have had Conan with Snoop Dogg in the lowrider.
Okay, that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been great. And the smoke just comes out of the lowrider.
I like it. It's really hard to explain to somebody who doesn't understand, but like, I fucking got emotional watching this, and it was just like the idea that like Snoop Dogg, a man who I don't know if you can find more figures that are more well known for a lowrider in pop culture than Snoop Dogg, but to see Snoop Dogg driving a lowrider to Eddie Guerrero's theme, like to be able to use such a mainstream presence to attach it to the memory of Eddie Guerrero on a big stage was like emotional for me. I thought it was just like such a crazy way to pay tribute, and I'm sure Eddie would have like gone crazy if he
was also the last time like they did the WrestleMania Hollywood Mania was 2005, and it was Rey and Eddie having their match on that show as well. So cool entrance here for Rey, like obviously totally different than the Dominik one, more kind of a sentimental one. And brought to you by Cinemoji Toast Crunch with our mascot who shakes hands with Rey as he's about to go to battle with his son.
Was the mascot going to reveal himself to be,
No, this mascot, they were smart to get this mascot out of the way, because people would have naturally been speculating that it's somebody hidden based on the precedent of KSI. So they had this mascot there for the time being. But honestly, like this actually added, because if you don't like follow Lucha, it's like, dude, they have like their ads all over the place. Like they are shameless with like the ads, like this added to like the Lucha backdrop here of having like Cinemoji Toast Crunch around the ring, and Bad Bunny also shaking hands with Rey at the start here. And the match begins. And of course, this audience is just so into it. And Dominik is sent into the corner, and Rey takes his belt and he starts whipping Dominik. And you have never seen a crowd that is just so adored a man beating his son in front of them. And Dominik bails to the floor, and there's Aaliyah who's got a red cup, and Dominik takes the cup and tosses it into her face, which immediately I was worried. I was like, I hope there's no tequila in there, as we learned.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad. No, but I also imagine he went through this with her beforehand.
Oh, okay. There was not going to be any apology afterwards.
Yeah.
So Dominik's in control. He hits a Michinoku driver, and then he gets back into Angie's face, and Angie slaps him. And then Rey drives him into he gets into Angie's face, yes, and then Angie slaps him. And you could tell Angie was not going to Stephanie McMahon, her own son, but it was enough of a slap that it made a sound. And then Rey posted him, gives Angie a kiss. The crowd pops. Damian Priest and Finn Balor show up ringside, and so it's the numbers game that Rey has to contend with. And Dominik rotates Rey and he flips over, and like his face goes into the bottom turnbuckle. This looked like a crazy bump, and would not be the craziest bump someone would take on their face on this show. That was still to come, but nonetheless, this looked pretty nuts. And Rey then comes back, and he is taking the three amigos from Dominik, stops Dominik, and hits the 619 as Balor then distracts the referee, and Priest grabs Rey. This allows Dominik to take over when the newly formed LWO run down, attacking Balor and Priest, including Santos Escobar, hitting his tope suicida onto Damian Priest. Dominik then sets up Rey, hits the 619 and a frog splash, but Rey kicks out. Dominik removes a turnbuckle pad, and then he goes, and Damian Priest has left his blazer, which conveniently has a chain inside of it. So he goes for the chain when Bad Bunny jumps up, takes the chain away, and this leads to a 619 to Dominik, and Rey hits the frog splash to win in 14 minutes and 30 seconds. And dude, Rey losing, even if it was to prolong the program, my God, it would have just sucked the energy out of this crowd. Yeah. And the way they did this, Dominik has his out. Bad Bunny pretty much cost him the victory, and it sets up what I think everyone is expecting to be either a tag match at Backlash, or you get like a 6-man if you're going to have Balor, Priest, and Dominik on one side, and you could throw Santos with the baby faces. But that's going to be, if you're getting Bad Bunny to wrestle in Puerto Rico, that's massive.
Huge, absolutely. Not just in Puerto Rico, but I think around the world, especially because I think the storyline is so hot. I'm sure there was some consideration given to perhaps Dominik being the one to win, especially if this is like a first chapter and Rey is out to get his revenge. But I thought it was really nice the way they did this, because it gave you a great feel good moment with the babyface triumph, the father beating his son physically. But I think they also found a great way of integrating Bad Bunny into the program by having him cost Dominik Mysterio the match. And I just think up until this point, this entire saga has really been perfection. The entrances I thought here were fantastic. The video was fantastic. The family was used so well. Judgment Day and the LWO were both used very well. Bad Bunny was used well. Even the Eddie nostalgia I thought was used excellently. And the storytelling, this evolution of Dominik Mysterio from just this cute little episode 1 Anakin Skywalker to the Darth Vader we see today, I think has been awesome.
Can you imagine if you're like casual fan that just watches Mania each year with your friends, and you come into the show with the memory of like this son of Rey who was dressed up as Art Barr last year, who was just like the squeaky clean son of Rey, and this year this is your update of what Dominik has been up to over the last year.
Yeah, only in wrestling, I guess, would you get something like this? And a loss like this will probably send him even further into the dark side, gives you that reason. As much
I will say though, like losing Rey winning this match, I would not want to be beating the baby faces in Puerto Rico. So I do not think like you would want to beat them there either. Like I don't think you would want to do that one.
Very interesting. Yeah. As much as I think what we saw was pretty outstanding outside of the curtain, I would kill to see the backstage embrace that Rey and Dominik would have had after this. Like, can we put into perspective how incredible of a moment this must have been for Rey Mysterio? How many people can say that they've had a WrestleMania singles match with their son? I could think of one. And this match did not occur because the people in it own the company. Speaking of Vince and Shane, of course, and this story has been way better than anything Shane and Vince have ever done. But if you're a pro wrestler with a child in the business, I can't think of a more proud moment you'd have than to share a stage like
even
this.
More because and listen, like there is always the I always see more of the difficulty of being the son of like a famous wrestler. Does it get you through certain doors? Of course, it's going to help. But in the long run, I think it's so tough. And you could look at like last year, like I'm sure he was extremely proud last year, got to team with his son. Like, who gets to do that? This year, I would think it would be even more so. It's like this guy is like, he is great regardless of the last name. Like, he has carved out his own identity this year, earned a spot on the card that if this guy was Dominik O'Brien, which would be a really generic name for a guy, he would have had a spot on this card. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, the story is about the family, but like this guy has earned his own spot that you could have been critical of in 2020, that like, should this guy be on the main roster? And I don't think anyone would have argued that. Like, if he was not Rey's son, he would not have been there in 2020. And today, look what he has grown into. And I am sure like this was a career highlight for Rey, if not his biggest career highlight because of that. So really great. Michael Cole, dude, Michael Cole is just, he is the unsung hero of this program as well. Yeah. Like he fully admits on the broadcast to Corey, I'm sorry, but you know how I get with Rey. And he just screams at the end, all is right with the world. Rey has eliminated racism, which Cody tried. Rey has eliminated bipartisanship or partisan politics. Rey has solved it all. And then there's a great spot where Dominik, Balor, and Priest are just seething, and Cole's like, those bozos. It was just a great line that he got in at the end.
So, you know, certainly like in terms of story, I'm sure Cole very much got into it, just maybe even as a fan himself. But when you see those clips of Dominik when he was 8 years old, it was Michael Cole calling those matches. You know, Michael Cole is probably somebody who has known Dominik since he was, you know, when he would have met Rey like in 2002, and to see that man grow up into this moment, I'm sure there was something incredibly emotional, just even from a real world non-storyline sense for him calling this match. Yeah.
So really great. You know, it was the story that was great, and the match presentation was tremendous too. And I say the presentation because it was not just the bell to bell, but it was like everything surrounding it. They did a great job with this.
Do us a huge favor and subscribe to the channel so that you know when to come back tomorrow. If you're enjoying these types of podcasts, we go live every Monday night, every Wednesday night. And if you're a Post Wrestling Cafe patron or video.postwrestling.com patron as well, we go live on Fridays as well as numerous times throughout the week for all of you guys. So we'd love it if you can help out the channel. We're still trying to grow it. We're relatively small by, you know, pro wrestling YouTube standards. So help us get up there, subscribe.
Yeah, we're trying to get up there to the heavyweights, like cold as balls.
What's that?
That's Kevin Hart's podcast that they were promoting. Logan Paul was on this week.
Okay.
Cold as balls.
I'm glad I asked for that context because
yes,
I guess I could have just left it.
We will also mention for Post Wrestling Cafe members as well, and we appreciate all the people that have jumped on, new subscribers this week. We will be putting out a show this week where we are going to go back and we are going to discuss heavily the infamous CM Punk appearance on The Art of Wrestling in November of 2014. We're going to re-listen to the first. There were actually back-to-back weeks. The first week, which is the sizable one, and look at it 9 years later, almost 9 years later. So that will be coming up. PostWrestlingCafe.com. $6 gets you in the door. Tons of bonus shows. We had a lot of great interviews up on the site this week with Brandon Thurston, Dave Meltzer, Speedball Mike Bailey that are there in their entirety from this past week, and it helps support the site as well. So you can check that out, postwrestlingcafe.com.